Happy Super Bowl Sunday, everyone. John Hendricks here with Boot Crew Media coming at you with another episode of The Drive presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Derek Carr is set to become a free agent. That is the latest and greatest on the saga that's going on and ongoing, according to NFL Network's Ian Rappaport. He told the Raiders apparently that he's not going to waive his no trade clause to be traded to the Saints or any other team. So Carr will become a free agent. It's further adding to the story is that the fact that the $40.4 million in guarantees kind of was a little bit of the hang up. And look, Carr had spent a couple of days here in New Orleans. His visit was originally for Wednesday, extended into Thursday. And so they had a good visit, did dinner, did a whole charade, all that kind of good stuff. And look, it was kind of ultimately up to Carr because part of it was that the framework had to be in place for a trade, which was apparently in place. And then, Carr had the ultimate say so. So now, where does this leave the Saints? So that doesn't mean that Carr can't still become a New Orleans Saints quarterback or the New Orleans Saints quarterback. That's the first and foremost thing. But he is going to be a free agent, which means other teams are going to be obviously interested in stuff. And you can look at it one of two ways. That the Saints are still needing to find their quarterback, right? And look, the NFC South doesn't need a whole lot as far as somebody to come in and really take this over. We've touched on this a good bit, and it remains to be seen what the Saints do at quarterback. That's the first thing. But on the other side is if Carr becomes a free agent, Saints could offer a contract that is very cap friendly, still give Carr his money that he wants, and they don't have to get rid of any type of draft capital in the process. So this is a really interesting development. And again, the clock was going to be ticking for the Raiders, that they had 3 days after the Super Bowl to make sure that they did something with Carr. He either had to be traded or released. But with this, kind of gives some other teams a chance to come to the table and look, New Orleans could be the front runner, whatever you want to call it, here, just because of the ties with Dennis Allen, all these other things. And so this could be something where they're playing the long game, but obviously other teams are going to be interested in this spot as if Carr is going to talk to other teams. Carolina's a team that needs a quarterback. I mean, there's tons of teams out there that are going to need a quarterback, and there's a lot of draft options obviously out there. Stroud, Young, Levis, all those guys are expected to be first rounders. And so for New Orleans, again, you still got to find out your quarterback situation. That's the most important thing I think they can do this offseason, is to figure out who's going to be that quarterback, who's going to be their guy. And Carr, he turns 32 soon. And I think as far as the upgrade process goes, exponentially on paper, at least, you got a little bit of a promise there. Again, all signs are pointing to this team moving on from Jameis Winston. Andy Dalton's a free agent. I think there's a different situation for him to potentially look at. And you're right now, you have Jake Luton on the practice squad that is under contract. So a lot of moving parts and pieces, but the main takeaway is obviously Derek Carr will not be coming to the Saints via a trade in the next couple of days. So everybody can kind of rest a little bit there. But it does make it interesting when free agency starts popping and all these other things happen. So interesting process will play out. Saints, you would expect them to be in that conversation, but again, other teams could come to the table. Look, if Green Bay can't trade Rodgers, or if Green Bay obviously is going to move on from Rodgers, Green Bay is a potential spot. I mean, there's all these that you could play out that teams are going to need quarterbacks. Maybe they look at Derek Carr as an option to sign and then use their other picks. We talked about Carolina. Houston is another one. I mean, there's just limitless options here. So, but for now, Saints will not be acquiring Derek Carr for a trade. And that means they don't have to give up draft capital. And then if they get him in free agency, they could make that contract very friendly to make it to where they can actually build, which is something the team feels like they're still in a compete now mode and can still be able to produce something that I wouldn't say resembles a Super Bowl team, but obviously has a chance to compete and threaten for obviously NFC South title and get into the postseason. But we'll see how it plays out. Derek Carr will not be coming to the Saints via trade. That's the main takeaway. Again, we hope you enjoy your Super Bowl today. Chiefs, Eagles. We'll see how it goes. I'm taking the Chiefs. I feel good about them. If you haven't placed some bets on DraftKings Sportsbook, Don't forget to use that code BOOT to get some free money. DraftKings is also giving out free bets to everybody today, a $5 bet. So make sure you take advantage of all that good stuff. I'm John Hendricks with The Drive, coming at you a lot more as we get geared up for the New Orleans Saints season, because the season will start tomorrow once the Super Bowl concludes. Thanks, guys. Enjoy.